The Active Learning Forum is the unexpected learning forum, the place where you're constantly engaging with what you're learning.
I think people expect it to be unnatural, maybe a bit futuristic and incredibly different experience than a normal classroom. And in many ways it isn't. It's the same.
As a Minerva student, I get to take classes from anywhere in the city. I think it's a great opportunity to constantly keep your learning experience fresh and exciting.
I was pleasantly surprised in my first experience on the Active Learning Forum. It's interactive, very dynamic, very fast-paced.
Everyone agrees that higher education could be much better than it is today. Minerva's acting on that by putting together state-of-the-art technology and superb pedagogy.
What we're going to do today is use a very complex problem, how to feed the world by 2050.
One of the great strengths of Minerva is the Active Learning Forum, which is informed by the science of learning. The secret to active learning is engagement.
Do you agree or disagree that the 5 solutions will be sufficient to solve the world's food problem?
We have at our fingertips tools that are designed to engage the students 100% of the time.
Now we're going to do a poll. Pick your best answer and be prepared to defend it.
I do agree that the other parts of this poll were valid.
Active learning is being an important part of your own education, challenging ideas, and coming to your own understanding.
It means that I'm constantly accountable. I feel like when you characterize a problem, it's important that it helps guide you to the solution.
Perfect, that's excellent.
I feel like I'm in a room with all of my students. I simply forget I'm on the computer.
You will be going into breakout groups. In each of your breakout groups, you will get assignment.
In a normal classroom, there's people behind you, there's people to the side of you, but it's nice to be able to see everybody and their reactions to what's being talked about in class.
You are Group A, you will be the Minister of Agriculture.
Yeah, agriculture, let's do it.
What does it mean to increase the food supply? So it means decrease food waste.
So for example, if we reduce the amount of grazed land and transition.
All of Minerva's classes are taught in the seminar format with a maximum of 18 students. I know each one of my students better than I knew students when I taught in a major university.
Hazik, you're shaking your head. What do you have something to add?
Well, I think the first solution that immediately comes to mind is...
The classes are designed so that you actually have more interaction with your professor.
It's a very open, dynamic, and friendly relationship.
It's the kind of learning where we're an active participant instead of a passive recipient. Both the student and teacher are engaged in not only dialogue, but debate and role play. And it's so much more fun than a traditional class.
What is really powerful about the forum is no student is in the back row. The professor can simply look at the screen and call on the students who are not participating as much and bring them into the discussions.
Let's hear from Guillaume.
I think that the purpose of the incentives...
My favorite part is that the professors are able to watch the recordings of the class, which means that they can give you very specifically tailored feedback.
The technology really helps professors get more quantitative and qualitative data about how a student's performing across all classes and use that in office hours.
Good afternoon. How are you doing today?
I'm fine, Dean Chandler, thanks.
Good. Did you have any...
I thought it was the students who had to put effort into reaching out to the professor, but here the professor was taking a really, really active role. And I think that was a function of the technology we used.
We have technology. We have knowledge about how the mind works. We can do things with education that has simply never been possible before. And that's what we're trying to do at Minerva.
We are the only school in the world that uses the science of learning to design not just what we teach, but how we teach it. It doesn't get better than that.
I'm here at Minerva because I want to be a part of an important movement to change higher education.
The fact that Minerva students live and study together adds another dimension to the classroom. Having that human interaction really strengthens the online class experience.
Our education needs to be dynamic, it needs to be interactive. It needs to prepare us for the needs of an increasingly complex world.
I feel part of an incredible community. This is the only place that I'm excited about my learning.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Co-Secretary Generals of IVMUN 2021, esteemed guests, honorable chairs, distinguished delegates and observers, my name is Vương. On behalf of the Secretariats, I'd like to welcome you all to the 2021 International Vietnam Model United Nations Conference. It is our utmost pleasure to have a chance to acquaint ourselves with the talented and full-hearted individuals watching today. The COVID-19 pandemic has taken a great toll on our way of life. As a result, we cannot continue our norms in order to ensure the safety of our community. But that does not mean we stop participating in meaningful events like IVMUN. Thanks to the restless dedication and resilience of everyone, from the secretariats, to the chairs, to the delegates and observers, we still gather today all across the country and around the world to kick off this 3-day unmissable journey. It'd be barely justifiable not to mention the sponsors, who, despite all the risks and challenges, still lend us their support. We'd like to thank our golden sponsor, Minerva Schools, and our bronze sponsors, Summit Education, Forwards Academy, and SparkPred. Without your generosity, IVMUN 2021 would not make it this far. On behalf of the Secretariats, I'd like to express to the sponsors our warmest gratitude. And without further ado, I'd like to welcome Ms. Nguyễn Ngân Hà and Mr. Nguyễn Hữu Minh Tùng, the IVMUN 2021 Co-Secretary Generals, to give their welcoming address.
Esteemed guests, distinguished delegates and observers, fellow secretariats, my name is Nguyễn Ngân Hà.
And my name is Tung.
Co-Secretaries General of IVMUN 2021, on behalf of all secretariats, we would like to welcome you to the International Vietnam Model United Nations Conference 2021. This year, we are proud to celebrate our 7th anniversary of our journey in fostering youth's passion for knowledge and self-development. Since the inception of IVMUN, we have made it our mission to create a platform for all participants to immerse themselves in all realms of education, whether it's academics, social awareness, or cultural appreciation.
We have come a long way since the early days of IVMUN. With each session, we are honored to witness the expansion and improvement of the conference as a whole. From 5 committees with nearly 100 delegates, participation numbers this year have nearly doubled to 200 delegates and 8 committees of highly diverse themes and topics for discussion. In addition to the improvement in scale, we are also committed to the enhancement of conference quality, particularly in terms of content and logistics. This year in particular has come with a myriad of challenges. Due to the ongoing COVID situation here in Hanoi, a lot of crucial changes had to be made to our original plans, namely moving the conference to an online format. Even though an in-person conference could not be followed through, we believe that with all our efforts, IVMUN will still be a place where people can express their knowledge and passions. The Secretariats and I are committed to bringing you a professional and satisfactory experience, even if we can only see each other through computer screens. These unfortunate times, we believe, are opportunities for us to grow as people. Together, we will continue to improvise, adapt, and overcome any setbacks in order to carry out our vision of making IVMUN a professional yet accessible forum for the international community.
We would also like to express our deepest gratitude towards our generous partners and sponsors for their invaluable contributions to making the conference a reality today. The Minerva Schools at KGI, Forwards Academy, Spark Prep and Summit Education Service. We would also like to express our appreciation for our hardworking secretariats who have been working at their utmost effort to drive the conference this year to success. And last but not least, we would also like to thank all delegates and observers for your participation. It's our greatest impetus to strive towards betterment. We hope that through the conference this year, you will engage yourself and have a pleasant experience, especially with the unprecedented format of the IVMUN. Without further ado, the International Vietnam of the United Nations 2021 officially begins.
Thank you, the Co-Secretary Generals, for your warm welcoming speech. This year, we are honored to invite to the opening ceremony 4 guest speakers to share their perspectives and experiences. Our next guest speaker is a successful beauty blogger who has a certain influence on young people, Mrs. Trinh Phạm. Having spent 5 years studying and working in the United States, Mrs. Trinh Phạm is one of the first beauty bloggers in Vietnam. She is known and loved by the youth due to her diverse knowledge in many different topics, from beauty to lifestyle to studying, along with her positive and progressive thinking. Mrs. Trinh Phạm also plays the role of a mother, the woman of the family. It is her multiple experiences in life that have helped her views on each issue become more profound, objective, and complete. Please welcome Mrs. Trinh Phạm.
Hi IVMUNer, thank you so much for watching this video. I am Trinh Phạm and I am a lifestyle influencer. I am so honored to be part of IVMUN 2021. I was so excited to meet all of you in person and give you a speech that I am really passionate about, but due to the COVID-19 situation, we can't really meet each other, but that's okay. I am here on the screen and I am still giving a speech. The speech is about a problem that I think a lot of people should care more about, and hopefully I can bring some good solutions to the table so everyone can think about it. Yeah, so I hope you guys will like it. Let's get started, shall we? The topic is sexual assault and why is it still happening. So let's start with a Facebook post that I saw not too long ago, I think a few months ago. That's when the news about a 5-year-old girl in the south of Vietnam who was assaulted and killed not far away from her house broke out on the internet. When I saw the news, I was so angry. But of course, this is not the first time that a child was assaulted or killed by someone that they already knew. And in this case, this is her neighbor who she saw every day. Then after I read all the articles about that case, I accidentally saw a post on Facebook. And that post combines a lot of confessions of sexual assault victims. And yeah, I will leave it on the screen and you can look at all the posts, all the comments, and please tell me what's in your mind and what you find that all the victims have in common. So now that you're done reading, can you tell me in the comment, what do all of them have in common? In all the cases, yes, they were all assaulted by someone in their family or someone they know really well, or even by their friend's father. So now that you're done reading, what's in your mind? Can you please leave a comment down below and tell me what do you think or what do you find that they all have in common, and then I will answer. And yes, if you read all of them, they were all assaulted by someone in their family or someone they know really well, even by their friend's father. That really broke my heart when I read all of the confessions. And I just can't imagine what they had to go through at such a young age. But the question is, why didn't they go to the police to report the case? Why didn't they tell anyone the truth? And why didn't they seek help? Well, the answer is sometimes they think, who would want to be judged by other people around them if the issue is not gonna be fixed? So what's the issue that I'm talking about? Now first, does anyone here know what sexual assault actually means? Sexual assault is an act in which one intentionally sexually touches another person without that person's consent or physically forces a person to engage in a sexual act against their will. I'm sure we all understand that, but what makes it hard for the law enforcement in Vietnam is there is not a clear line between sexual assault, sexual harassment, rape, or sexual abuse. So it is really kind of difficult to find the right punishment for the perpetrator. For example, in the US, after the hashtag #MeToo movement, a lot of people can differentiate the meanings of sexual abuse, sexual assault, sexual harassment, or rapes to prevent themselves from the situation. So in today's speech, I will talk more about sexual abuse first. Sexual abuse is mainly used to describe behavior toward children, not adults, because children are not capable of giving informed consent to any sex act. So actually, sexual abuse can include many different things, from touching the victim in a sexual manner to forcing the victim to touch the perpetrator in a sexual way, from making the victim look at different sexual body parts to making them watch the sexual act. And in general, sexual abuse of a child is a criminal act. So that's an example in the US. What about in Vietnam? What kind of law do we have to protect all the victims? I remember in March 2019, there was an incident happened in an elevator in Hanoi. A man assaulted a woman. I think he was trying to kiss her, and it was recorded in an elevator camera. And then the next day, he was fined for 200,000 Vietnam dong, which was around $10, which is not really much. Nothing really changed until a similar incident happened in Saigon the next month, when an older man tried to touch a little girl in the elevator again. Then a lot of people paid attention to that case, and they even make a petition calling for an amendment to the law. But then I think the response of the People's Supreme Court was they were still debating if touching the neck or the belly really classify as sexual harassment. So you see, sometimes in some countries, if the law is not clarified, then the chance is the victim will not get the right protection and the right punishment will not be made to the perpetrator. So what's the best solution right now? In my opinion, all of us, include the police force, and every one of us need to have a better understanding about signs of sexual assault in both women and children that go beyond evidence of the victim being tied up, forced, beatings, or torn clothing to substantiate the claims of rape or assault. So let's all go back to the confessions that I showed you at the beginning. Do you guys have the same questions like I do? Why didn't they go to the police to report the truth? And why didn't they seek help from other people? Well, in some surveys that I read, a lot of survivors don't do that because they believe that nobody gonna trust them and nobody will listen, nobody will care, and most importantly, they think there won't be any solutions. But in fact, the survivors really need help physically and mentally because the trauma of being sexually assaulted is an experience filled with violence. And that can transform their worldview, their sense of safety, or their relationships with others. On the other hand, in a lot of cases, when the survivor discloses any details of the case, they are frequently met with questions rather than support, and that made them remain silent, or sometimes they were asked to be silent. I myself have heard a story of a mom. She chose to go anonymously on the internet to post about her story, and she had a daughter who was assaulted by the cousin, and she didn't really know what to do in that case. Like, do they need to confront the cousin in front of the family, or should they just leave and keep the family at peace? And at the end, she chose the second option, is that she and her daughter left the family. You know, in Vietnam, due to the stigma and the culture of secrecy, a lot of abusers never been named or taken to court. And the survivors chose to remain silent because they don't want to be ashamed by a lot of people around them. And if the issue is still gonna be there, then it's better just to keep it for themselves. So how to encourage the victim to seek help? As the visible wound heals, a lot of time unseen mental health will linger. So that is why it's so important to understand what that individual went through and how can you help them. It is important for the survivors to be listened, to be believed, and to be told what happened is not their fault. So I will give you some of the suggestions of what can you do to help, but keep in mind that there's not one right way to deal with the situation. So just give the options to the survivors and they will be the one who decide. Number one, believe them. The common fear of survivors is they afraid people won't believe their story. So if they choose you to tell the story, that means they trust you, and please listen to them. 2, don't blame them. Another common fear that the survivor will have is somehow they think that's their fault. But remember, no one deserves to be assaulted sexually. No matter what the circumstances is, it's always the abuser's fault. That's even called victim blaming. Just remember, no one is deserved to be sexually assaulted. 3, offer shelter. If they don't feel safe at their house or their location, it will be nice for you to offer shelter and be with them and give them comfort. 4, be there for them. I think it is really, really hard for the survivors to finally open up about the topic with you or someone else. So if they choose you to share this story, you should be grateful and please be there for them. 5, be patient with them. Don't rush the healing process, and remember, individuals do not heal at the same pace. 6, express your compassion. If you have a feeling of outrage, compassion, or pain for their pain, please do share them. 7, respect the person's choice of what they want to do with the assault. Even if you disagree with their decision, it's still their story, so just let them decide. 8, respect their privacy. That means you don't go around and share their story and help them find the solutions by that way, but just keep the story between you two. 9, get help. If they need to be by their family or they need some support, please do that. Please help them. Last but not least, number 10, educate yourself about sexual assault and the healing process. There are so many good sources of information about healing and sexual assault on the internet that you can find, and it is so much better for them to be supported by someone they trust, and you might be that one person for someone really close to you. So that's my thought on sexual assault and why is it still happening. And I hope you guys find some interesting facts in the speech or maybe become a great supporter for someone who need it. I know this is such a sensitive topic to a lot of people, and but I hope you guys as a new generation can have a better view on it or find a great solution for it in IVMUN 2021. Thank you so much for listening, and I would love to see your comments down below, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.
Thank you, Mrs. Trinh Phạm, for your speech. Our final speaker for today's opening ceremony is Miss Lê Nam Thuận, known as vlogger Vương. Miss Thuận is a freshman at Cornell University, currently studying at Viên University under the Study Away program. She owns a YouTube channel called Vương with over 60,000 subscribers, focusing mainly on academic subjects and her daily life. With enthusiasm and relentless efforts, Miss Thuận is gradually claiming her place in the eyes of youth and succeeds in inspiring students to pursue the academic path. Apart from academic achievements, she also possesses an extensive volunteering and extracurricular profile with numerous positions in Model United Nations, including IVMUN. Please welcome Miss Lê Nam Thuận.
Hi everyone, this is Vương and I'm glad to see you all at IVMUN this year. I actually have been at IVMUN for the last few years, either as a delegate or as chair, but this year I'm honored to be one of the guest speakers. Today I want to talk to you guys about confidence and positivity, which is something that I actually struggled to find at the beginning of my journey with MUN. And I thought that it would be great if I could share with you guys some tips for gaining confidence and positivity in public speaking for not only MUN, but for many other activities in life. So let's get started. Confidence and positivity in public speaking. Why am I talking about this topic? It's because confidence and positivity, although they are really important skills in life, it was not easy for me to find my way to gain these skills when I was young, and my journey to find out about this trait in me was pretty challenging and difficult. So I thought that my journey would help some of you guys here who are still struggling in your own journey to find it. And this is also a really important aspect because you're not only gonna need it in the next few days debating at the MUN conference, but in other activities in life, whether it's academics, extracurricular activities, or just communication with other people in your daily life, this is going to help you a lot. So I'm gonna start by telling you about a kind of an amusing story about when I was young. I really loved singing and performing, so I thought that I also had a pretty decent voice, and at school performances, I would ask my teacher if I could hold the mic, and in this picture right here, I was actually given the mic to be the center of the stage. However, something unfortunate happened. Another girl approached me and stood near me, and I didn't know what she was planning to do. And unexpectedly, she grabbed my mic because she thought that her voice was way better than me, and I didn't deserve to be holding the mic like I was. But I was a very stubborn and determined child, and I did not let go. Seeing that I was so stubborn, she finally stood out to the side and let me do my job. However, I was a pretty kind kid. She even tried to grab it twice, but then in the end, when the performance ended, I let the mic go and then allowed her to try holding the mic for once, and all she did was shout in the mic. And I was like, okay, fine. And Other than school performances, I also participated in a lot of singing competitions like Do Re Mi. But throughout these competitions, I continuously get comments like I wasn't confident enough. Although I had potential in singing, I wasn't demonstrating confidence and made me look not attractive in the stage. So the lesson that I learned from these young experiences were that even when I'm passionate in something, there are going to be factors in life that are going to hinder my confidence and positivity in performing it, whether it comes from someone else, whether it comes from comments that I receive, or whether it comes from within myself. I project the insecurity upon myself. And my own journey later comes to English. I participated in English speaking competitions such as EF speaking challenges or just speaking challenge at my school. And I also see a lot of other people such as Miss Nguyễn Lâm Thảo Tâm, who was the guest speaker at IVMUN last year. I met her at EF Challenge and I saw that she was so good at what she was doing and I was not. So it increased my insecurity in the subject that I really liked, which was English. And then I started to participate in MUN. This is also where I realized a really big lesson about the importance of confidence and positivity in speaking out about your ideas. So in MUN and other activities, regardless of whether how good your idea is about something, articulation is also really important, because if you only have a great idea, it will only stay in your head forever and you cannot find resources or tell other people to team up with you to do this amazing idea. So articulation and the ability to be confident and positive enough to speak out about it also complements your ideation by a lot. So what are the tips that I can give you guys for gaining confidence and positivity in public speaking? There are a lot of resources out there, and these are only one of the four most fun tips that I found that I don't see a lot on the internet. And the first one is about taking power over your own space. So what I mean by taking power of your own space is when, for example, when you're at a stage, which I should be at right now, so the first one is about if there wasn't COVID right now, I would actually be at a stage right now speaking to you guys, and I could have demonstrated more about what I mean here. So when you're at a stage, it is pretty comfortable if you move around and take more control of the space because you feel like you own it and you belong to it. Similarly to what this guy is doing here in the picture. And about space, it's not only about when you're at a stage. It's also when you're actually participating in a conference room. In MUN, it is pretty important to have unmoderated caucus. Oh my gosh. Sorry. In MUN, it's not only about taking power of your space when you're at a stage, but it's also pretty important to take power of the space when you're in the conference room, especially in unmoderated caucus. You guys are going to talk about a lot of important issues, and if you could clean up your desk and invite other people to come over to your table and discuss with you, you're holding power and attracting other delegates and stating that you have more influence in the room. The second thing that I want to talk about is charisma. And I can give you a really bad example of how charisma can be manipulated and exploited to a bad purpose. So this is Elizabeth Holmes. She was one of the most successful women, and she was named in Forbes. She had a business called Theranos, which is when you only take a drop of blood from your body, but you can do really extensive testings about your health. And this was actually a scam. The science behind Theranos didn't work, but Elizabeth Holmes was so manipulative and good at delivering her charisma to the investors that she scammed everyone in Silicon Valley. Just because of her deep voice, her confidence, and her really fashionable style. She dressed exactly like Steve Jobs, and she always wears black. So what are the elements of charisma that you can manipulate, but to a good purpose instead of a bad purpose like Elizabeth? So you can try with your tone. You can go really up high when you're talking to children so that they can be more excited about what you're talking about, or you can be really deep to an older audience to get their attention and gain their trust. You can also try with depth of voice, which is what I tried to do previously to deepen my voice to gain trust. Thirdly, you can try with vocabulary. Complicated vocabulary actually doesn't work all the time, especially when you're delivering speech. You can use complicated vocabulary when you're writing papers. Maybe that would make it feels like it's coming from a reliable source. But when you're delivering content in speech, it's more important to allow your audience to understand what you're speaking. And a great example of this is Donald Trump in his presidential campaign. He used really simple vocabulary that equates to a third grader, according to research about vocabulary, because his target audience was low-income families. Fourthly, body movements also impact a lot, because if you're just standing still like this, you don't appear as confident as you're freely waving your hands around and moving your body fluently. Speed, you can go really, really fast so that people are going to pay attention to you. And this is usually used by YouTubers such as James Charles, and you cannot really like double the speed of the video because they're so focused on you. Or you can go really slowly, because a little pause here and there will not hurt. And lastly, clothing. It's pretty interesting because in this generation, Gen Z generation, formal clothing doesn't necessarily imply that you're more powerful than someone. Because of our comfortable culture, there are so many ways to eject confidence, even when you're just wearing casual clothes. And I think just wear the clothes that you're most comfortable in already give you a lot of power and strength to continue confidently with what you're doing. And lastly, about compliments and response to compliments. In Southeast Asia cultures, it's usually considered humble to reject compliments that someone gives you. For example, when someone compliments you, it's common to say, "Oh, it's normal," or say, "Oh, don't say that. There's so many people better than me." But for me, when that happens, the person who compliments you might think that, okay, I'll stop giving this person compliments. And I have found out a better way to deal with situations when you receive compliments is that you can thank the person. Thanks, I'm trying to improve and make myself better every day. So you can embrace the compliment, but also imply that you're going to try to be better. And embracing the compliments actually makes me feel more empowered instead of just rejecting all of my hard work away. And lastly, I find it also pretty helpful to be vulnerable in situations like participating at an MUN, and I try to participate as often as possible because this is the best way to learn, to get advice from other people in your committee and gain skills when you're still at school. So to sum up, I have 4 ideas for you guys, which is taking part of your space, using your charisma, embracing compliments that you receive, and being more vulnerable. And I hope that my few 4 tips are going to stick with you guys for the rest of the few days. And I'm going to answer some of the questions that I received from you guys. Ok, bởi vì là cái câu hỏi mà Vừng đã nhận được có cả tiếng Anh và tiếng Việt, nên là câu hỏi nào mà mình nhận được bằng tiếng Việt thì mình sẽ trả lời bằng tiếng Việt, và câu hỏi nào mình nhận được bằng tiếng Anh thì mình sẽ trả lời bằng tiếng Anh nhá. Câu đầu tiên là làm thế nào để chị vượt qua những comment trái chiều trên YouTube và những hoạt động chị làm. Thì chị nghĩ là ở trong cuộc sống thì kể cả mình có làm việc tốt hay là việc xấu đi chăng nữa thì lúc nào cũng sẽ có những cái ý kiến trái chiều về công việc mình làm ấy. Và những cái người mà hay comment những điều tiêu cực trên video của chị thì chị cũng hiểu, có lẽ một phần là do bản thân họ chưa đạt được cái mong muốn của họ, hay là nói chung là có rất là nhiều. Sorry, để chị trả lời lại câu này. Câu hỏi đầu tiên, làm thế nào để chị vượt qua những comment trái chiều trên YouTube và những hoạt động chị làm. Ở trong cuộc sống thì dù mình có làm hoạt động tốt hay là hoạt động xấu đi chăng nữa thì lúc nào cũng sẽ có những cái comment trái chiều. Và comment trái chiều kiểu criticism thì có 2 loại, là loại constructive feedback và loại thứ hai là kiểu thực sự chê và không có góp ý gì để cho mình tốt hơn ấy. Thì chị sẽ cực kỳ là đón tiếp những cái constructive criticism, là những cái lời chê mà muốn mình tốt hơn, và tham khảo ý kiến của họ để làm thế nào để chị có thể ra những cái sản phẩm tiếp theo hay hơn cho khán giả. Còn những comment thực sự tiêu cực thì thỉnh thoảng chị vui tính thì chị rep lại họ một cách rất là chân thành, như kiểu là tôi xin lỗi, xong rồi chúc bạn thành công trong cuộc sống của mình. Hoặc là những cái lần khác thì chị chỉ ignore họ thôi, bởi vì là họ cũng chỉ là những anh hùng bàn phím, và có khi gặp mình ngoài đời thì họ cũng sẽ không nói những cái câu như vậy đâu. Câu thứ hai, hello, I'm a big fan and I've replayed your videos many times. Can you tell me how to have confidence and ideas when you're writing essay for applying to scholarship? Thì actually, I've just released a video yesterday on Wednesday, July 21st about my college application essay. I read the whole essay out loud, and I also gave about 5 tips at the end of the video, so you guys can check it out about my tips when writing an essay for college application and any kind of scholarship. Câu thứ ba là em muốn hỏi rằng chị đã tham gia rất nhiều hội nghị trên thế giới. Vậy chị đánh giá người Việt Nam so với thế giới như thế nào ạ? Chị thấy thì Việt Nam, tại vì là mình đang trong một cái đà phát triển ý, nên là những người trẻ Việt Nam thì thường có rất là nhiều năng lượng, và cũng có rất là nhiều bạn du học sinh như chị. Bởi vì là các bạn ấy không hoạt động mạnh mẽ trên mạng xã hội social media nên là mọi người không biết tới nhiều thôi. Chứ trong cuộc sống thật thì có rất là nhiều bạn du học sinh cũng có nhiều hoạt động ấn tượng như chị hoặc là còn hơn chị nữa mà mọi người chưa biết đến. Thì chị cảm thấy rất là tự hào vì mọi người đang hướng tới cái goal đấy và giúp Việt Nam phát triển hơn. The fourth question, what has vlogging taught you about life? So my inspiration from vlogging actually came from the fact that I stayed far from home in Japan when I was in high school, and I wanted to show my family, and I wanted to show my family what life in Japan was like. And The main lesson that I learned from vlogging was to appreciate the present moments more. There are so many times when I was having fun and I debated in my head whether I should take out the camera to record it or should I actually be totally absorbed in the moment. And eventually, there are also some moments where I feel regret that I didn't bring my camera out to record the moment, and I was scared that I would. Sorry to cheat that. The fourth question, what has vlogging taught you about life? So I'm someone who really likes to record my happy memories on camera, and because most of them are happy memories, my audience doesn't know a lot of the struggles that I've been through when I cried because of something happened or when challenges came to me, because I intentionally don't want to remind myself too much of the negative things that happened in my life, but I wanted to focus more on how I improved through those negative experiences. So what I learned from this experience is that social media and the internet in general, and especially influencers, they're just projecting the best part of their life onto their audience. This might be a negative side effect of creating content, and I just want my young audience to be aware that influencers' lives are not perfect and what we're projecting are only the best bits of our life. The fifth question is, how do I deal with stress? If I could give you guys a quick answer right now, then it would be my dog right here. He's really cute, but a more practical answer would be that I try to finish the task that I was struggling to do, because I usually get the most stress out of doing work. And I have also built a support network for myself with my friends and family. And I just simply tell them that I'm struggling. And sometimes the most creative way that I've come up with is writing analytical. The most creative way that I have come up with to deal with stress is writing analytical and philosophical essay about what I'm feeling, whether it is embedded in society as a bigger problem. For example, recently I struggled with dealing with stress at work and the hustling culture of Gen Z. So I wrote a Facebook post about my pressure, where it all came from. And a lot of people shared with me in the comments that they also struggle with the same thing. So yeah, those are only some few examples of what I did. Thank you guys for listening to me, my speech, and my Q&A. And I really, really hope that you are guys, oh my gosh, sorry. Thank you guys for listening to my speech and my essay. And I really hope that you guys are going to have a great conference in the next few days. Bye.
Thank you, Ms. Lê Nam Thuận An, for your valuable sharing. Once again, we'd like to thank all of our amazing guest speakers for taking your time to join us today and to share with us your views and thoughts. Having had some precious moments to listen to our guest speakers, it is time for the opening ceremony of IVMUN 2021 to come to an end. This end will mark the beginning of the most significant 3 days of conference, as we witness all delegates tackling multiple social issues in our world. Now, all fellow delegates, it is time for us to change the world one resolution at a time.
The Active Learning Forum is the unexpected learning forum, the place where you're constantly engaging with what you're learning.
I think people expect it to be unnatural, maybe a bit futuristic and incredibly different experience than a normal classroom. And in many ways it isn't. It's the same.
As a Minerva student, I get to take classes from anywhere in the city. I think it's a great opportunity to constantly keep your learning experience fresh and exciting.
I was pleasantly surprised in my first experience on the Active Learning Forum. It's interactive, very dynamic, very fast-paced.
Everyone agrees that higher education could be much better than it is today. Minerva's acting on that by putting together state-of-the-art technology and superb pedagogy.
What we're going to do today is use a very complex problem, how to feed the world by 2050.
One of the great strengths of Minerva is the Active Learning Forum, which is informed by the science of learning. The secret to active learning is engagement.
Do you agree or disagree that the 5 solutions will be sufficient to solve the world's food problem?
We have at our fingertips tools that are designed to engage the students 100% of the time.
Now we're going to do a poll. Pick your best answer and be prepared to defend it.
I do agree that the other parts of this poll were valid.
Active learning is being an important part of your own education, challenging ideas, and coming to your own understanding.
It means that I'm constantly accountable.
I feel like when you characterize a problem, it's important that it helps guide you to the solution.
Perfect, that's excellent.
I feel like I'm in a room with all of my students. I simply forget I'm on the computer.
You will be going into breakout groups. In each of your breakout groups, you will get assignment.
In a normal classroom, there's people behind you, there's people to the side of you, but it's nice to be able to see everybody and their reactions to what's being talked about in class.
You are Group A, you will be the Minister of Agriculture.
Yeah, agriculture, let's do it.
What does it mean to increase the food supply? So it means decrease food waste.
So for example, if we reduce the amount of grazed land and transition.
All of Minerva's classes are taught in the seminar format with a maximum of 18 students. I know each one of my students better than I knew students when I taught at a major university.
Hazik, you're shaking your head. What do you have something to add?
Well, I think the first solution that immediately comes to mind is...
The classes are designed so that you actually have more interaction with your professor.
It's a very open, dynamic, and friendly relationship.
It's the kind of learning where we're an active participant instead of a passive recipient. Both the student and teacher are engaged in not only dialogue, but debate and role play. And it's so much more fun than a traditional class.
What is really powerful about the forum is no student is in the back row. The professor can simply look at the screen and call on the students who are not participating as much and bring them into the discussions.
Let's hear from Guillaume.
I think that the purpose of the incentives...
My favorite part is that the professors are able to watch the recordings of the class, which means that they can give you very specifically tailored feedback.
The technology really helps professors get more quantitative and qualitative data about how a student's performing across all classes and use that in office hours.
Good afternoon. How are you doing today?
I'm fine, Dean Chandler, thanks.
Good. Did you have any...
I thought it was the students who had to put effort into reaching out to the professor, but here the professor was taking a really, really active role. And I think that was a function of the technology we used.
We have technology. We have knowledge about how the mind works. We can do things with education that has simply never been possible before. And that's what we're trying to do at Minerva.
We are the only school in the world that uses the science of learning to design not just what we teach, but how we teach it. It doesn't get better than that.
I'm here at Minerva because I want to be a part of an important movement to change higher education.
The fact that Minerva students live and study together adds another dimension to the classroom. Having that human interaction really strengthens the online class experience.
Our education needs to be dynamic, it needs to be interactive. It needs to prepare us for the needs of an increasingly complex world.
I feel part of an incredible community. This is the only place that I'm excited about my learning.